Hi guys, sorry I'm a couple minutes late. I was having some technical difficulties. I'll wait a minute to see if I see somebody coming on. I'm so excited to be on High Five Live today with the Women of Worth Wednesday. My new friend Gaynell asked me to come on here and hi. My name is Jamie Hutchings and I am a speaker and a blogger. And a couple more people are coming in. So make sure that you comment below and say hi. I'm gonna try to keep this at 15 minutes too. So I need to make sure that, that I do that. But hi Arnessa. I will go on here and watch this afterwards. So if you have any questions or any comments, I'll make sure and go on there and answer all of those. I just don't have time to do that right now. But let's go ahead and get started. Like I said, my name's Jamie Hutchings, and I am a blogger at Surviving the Bubble. And it's called Surviving the Bubble. I had leukemia when I was younger, and I lived literally in a bubble room in the hospital for almost 3 months while I was being treated. So that's another part of my story. But Gaynell actually asked me to come on here and talk about my journey with postpartum depression. I have kind of become a mental health advocate, and that's not really what I started out to do, but I am so grateful for the opportunity that I've had to talk to so many people and kind of open up some of these conversations that are so relevant to what's going on in the world today. And so I wanted to talk for a second about my journey, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. I got married really young. I was 22 when we got married, and we got pregnant on our first year anniversary. So I had my first baby at 23, and I look back now and I think, oh my gosh, we were babies having babies. And I'm so grateful for so many reasons that we started young, but I think that was kind of a little bit of a trigger for me. I have had depression since I was 15, and I've been on and off medications for years. Well, I had been at the time, and when we got pregnant, everything seemed to go pretty good for the first 3/4 of the pregnancy, and then at the end, I ended up getting preeclampsia, and so I was on bed rest for 3 weeks before my baby was born, and then she ended up coming 5 weeks early. And so it was a really scary time, and we just were praying really hard that she was going to be okay, that she was going to be able to breathe on her own, and that everything would work out for her. And it ended up being a really scary delivery, and I think that's kind of where it all started for me. Was in the hospital. We ended up staying in the hospital for 5 days, and she was really, she had to be on lights, and they watched her for a long time, but really she was great. She was doing good. She was breathing on her own, and everything was looking good, especially for how young she was. But it was really scary for me, and it was not a very pleasant experience. And so after 5 days of being in the hospital and being on blood transfusions and having all these things that I was not expecting for my first baby, they sent us home. And I will never forget the first 24 hours when we were home with my baby. She cried literally for 24 hours. And I cried for 24 hours. And I remember just sitting there and thinking, what is going on? What did I do? Oh my gosh, there's no way I was prepared for this. I have this human being now that I'm responsible for, and it's not going to happen. I'm not prepared for this. And when you come home after being in the hospital for 5 days where the nurses are taking care of her and everybody's watching her, and you have all this comfort knowing that there's doctors there with her, then you get home and you're like, what do I do? What am I supposed to do? And there's no manual, and they don't send you home with a book. They're just like, here you go, here's your baby. Congratulations, good luck. And so I was terrified. I was terrified. And I remember I cried and cried for probably the first 6 months. And we struggled with nursing, which at 3 months old, we had to stop. And I remember thinking, that I couldn't even do this basic thing that as a woman that I was kind of born to do and built to do. And I couldn't even do this basic thing. And it was very disheartening. And I had a lot of times that I just didn't want to leave the bed. I didn't want to leave my house. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't feel like I was doing a good job. And I was terrified every single day that she was just going to stop breathing, that it was just not gonna, that I was going to be the reason that she wouldn't survive, that I was going to somehow keep her from living. And it was terrifying. And I remember my husband, I mean, like I said, we were very young. And if anybody's watching this that's a man, it's okay to watch this, because if you have young wives or young babies at home, then you kind of need to know some things about this, because there are there's lots of women that struggle with this, and it is a very real thing. And there's a lot of things that you can look for, that you can help with your spouse. But I know for me, just the whole experience was terrifying for a whole entire year. She was very colicky. She never slept through the night until she was 12 months old. And I know a lot of times with postpartum depression, the woman doesn't connect with the baby, and she has a hard time being with her baby. And for me, it wasn't like that. I actually only connected with her, and I didn't want to have anything to do with anybody else around me. And I just wanted it to be me and her. But I did have lots of moments where I was terrified, and I was so scared. And there were times that I remember her crying, and I would just sit there and think, what would happen if I just put my baby outside and I didn't go out there and I left her? What would happen? And I remember thinking these things that I would never in a million years think, because I was so in love with this little beautiful girl that I was blessed to have. And even that, going back to the fact that I had leukemia for years, we didn't know if I was going to be able to have my own children because I had chemotherapy so young. And so that was a discussion that we had as a young couple before we got married, was that there was a chance that we might have to adopt and not have our own biological children. And so having her finally here and knowing that I was blessed to have her was such a miracle and so amazing. But I was so mad and guilty that I was having these thoughts and these feelings, and that I was terrified all the time. And I just didn't feel like I was a good mom. And I didn't feel like I was enough. And I thought, somebody sent her to the wrong person. Sorry, because I just didn't think that I had it in me. I didn't think that I was worthy of this miracle, and I didn't think that I was strong enough to keep her alive. The very basic need of a baby, I didn't think that I was strong enough to keep her alive. And some of the problem is open communication. Open communication is the biggest thing that you can do with your spouse. If you are feeling any of this, if you feel your spouse kind of retreating and disappearing and being really quiet, not leaving the house, or if it seems like she's not connecting to her baby, then talk to her. Make sure that you keep the lines of communication open. If you're a new mom, talk to your spouse. Keep that communication open, because it's not something that you should be ashamed of. I understand the guilt, and I understand feeling really upset about it, and kind of not wanting to talk to your husband and say, I don't know how to do this, because they're trusting you to know what you're doing. And it's okay to talk to them, because you need to. And there are steps that can be taken if you're starting to feel something when you're pregnant. And even in the beginning, early on, there are medications and things that the doctors can help you with, so that it's not such a hormone adjustment as soon as the baby's born. And as long as you're talking to your doctor and keeping that communication open, there's so many things that can help, and so many things that can help prevent this too. And sometimes it's just not preventable, and sometimes you just are gonna struggle, and it's okay, because So many women out there struggle with this. So many. It's so real. And these babies are so beautiful, and they deserve our love, and they deserve everything that we can give them. But it's hard. It's not easy. And when we're in the hospital, it seems so beautiful, and it's so new, and it's awesome, but you've got the comfort of these doctors and these nurses. And then when you go home, it's just really scary. And I will say, it took me a year of postpartum with my daughter to finally go to the doctor and get on some medication. And then when I had my second daughter, there was a little bit of infertility for about a year. And when I had my second daughter, I thought, oh, I've got this. I've figured this out. I knew that I was struggling last time, so I won't struggle this time. But I struggled again. And it was another year of postpartum with her. And finally, when we went to the doctor, we figured out there were some thyroid problems. So one of the biggest tips I'll give you is go to all your postpartum appointments with your doctor. Talk about your thyroid, talk about depression, talk about how your body's changing with all these hormones and with all these things that are going on. After you have a baby, your body has completely freaked out a little bit, and it's trying to readjust, and it's trying to come back to a normal level. And it doesn't always happen right away. And so sometimes we need a little bit of a chemical adjustment and a chemical help and vitamins, and make sure to go to your doctor's appointments. That is one of the biggest things. And talk to your doctor and be open, because it's so easy to talk to the doctors now, and they know so much more about what's going on. And if you are struggling, and it's okay, just know, say your prayers, keep Heavenly Father close, and have your husband give you blessings. Have somebody in your family give you blessings. Those help so much, and they can also help you change your perspective a little bit by learning to be grateful and seeing these things that Heavenly Father has blessed you with, and maybe change your perspective a little bit and see that this is this beautiful, gorgeous human being that Heavenly Father has blessed you with, and you are okay. This baby has been given to you for a reason, and only you can raise this child. And my daughter, my first daughter, is now 16, and she's beautiful and gorgeous, and my second daughter is 13. And when I had my son, we struggled with infertility for about 4 years. And when I had my son, we had it handled, and it started a little bit in the beginning, but I noticed it, and I got my thyroid going, and I got the right medication, and it changed so much. And I just want to say how grateful I am for this opportunity. And if anybody has any questions, message me, DM me, come talk to me. I love to talk about this. Like I said, this wasn't my beginning journey of starting to speak and sharing my story. I didn't think that I would become a mental health advocate. For a long time, it was something I was scared to share, and I was kind of ashamed a little bit. And sharing my story now has opened up so much. I have met so many amazing people, including Gaynell, and I've learned so much from so many people, and I've learned so much of my own strength just from sharing my story. So share your story, talk to somebody, come talk to me, message me, leave me a comment or a message below, and I'd love to get back and say hi to anybody that came on here. But I am so grateful. Thank you so much for this opportunity, and I hope that maybe we can help each other. We can open up this conversation, and moms can support each other, and we can lift each other up, and we can show everybody it's okay to be scared. You're not thrown into this with all of the tools and everything that you need, and it's really difficult, but it's okay. It can be fixed, and it can be helped, and these beautiful babies love us, and they need us, and you need them too, and you're going to learn so much about yourself through this whole process. And I am so glad for this opportunity. Thanks everybody for coming on. I see some people in Arizona and Utah, so I will get on there and I'll message you back. But thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and hopefully I'll see you soon. Thanks.